Okay, so let's now have the main content of Module 3, which is the philosophical perspectives to society and education. So we have here three classifications of philosophies: the classical philosophies, the modern philosophies, then the postmodern philosophies. But let's have first the philosophy of technology education again. Technology education is an important segment of the total educational program, and it has a philosophy that is meant to enhance the country's overall educational and development efforts. As a major component of Philippine education, technology education must be geared to equip every citizen with basic knowledge, skills, and attitudes to be able to function effectively in the ever-changing society. It must address the need for everyone to understand and apply the fundamental skills and processes performed in everyday living to appreciate the value of technological changes and their contribution to the improvement of the quality of life. And if interested, to select an area or field of study which he could pursue through a personal educational process to enable him to participate productively in the society. So this is what I'm telling you a while ago in the previous video, that where is the vet in the society and education? The vet is always present. Why? Because the vet offers products and services that are needed in the society. So in a fast-changing world, because of technology, the demand also increases, the demand also changes. So there is always a need. The essence now of education is to train those who are interested to learn a particular skill in order to attain, in order to train them, in order to meet the demands of the society. For students who have developed special interest in a particular field of technology, example, agriculture, trade, business, fishery, industrial arts, home economics, opportunities are provided in the secondary vocational schools for them to develop employable skills. Like for example, we already have the we are already in the K to 12. So those who are interested in this field can enroll in their senior high for the TVET. Okay. So technology education is an essential form of both general and specialized education. So in general education, particularly at the elementary and secondary school levels, technology education is known by such terms such as work education, practical arts education, and livelihood education. So take note, it was mentioned that before it was called work education. It was work education before. Then it's also called the practical arts education and livelihood education. So take note of these terms. Work education, because it's more of the practicalities. It's more of doing something. So for practical arts, why it's practical arts? Work education, why again? Because it trains individuals in in a particular task. So they do it. It is more of performing on something, doing something. So practical arts. Why practical arts? Because it's more like what I've said a while ago, it's more practicalities, meaning to say it's more of hands-on rather than on the theories. But although the focus is on the hands-on, still the knowledge, values, and attitudes are never ignored in the vet. Okay, why arts? Because it because it encourages the learners to think creatively for them to be able to create something new, okay, something that will in which the society will benefit from it. So still there is education. So livelihood, because after acquiring the needed skills, students will now ready to face the real life situation. Okay, so means of living. Okay, so now technology education again is an important segment of the total educational program, and it has a philosophy that is meant to enhance the country's overall educational and development efforts. The importance of enhancing the agricultural, industrial, business, and other sectors of the economy and the critical need for trained manpower accentuates the need for technology education, to address these concerns. It must be designed to prepare appropriate type and quality of trained manpower needed by the employment market and supports the growth and development of the various sectors of economy. It must prepare individuals who are not only equipped with technical skills and knowledge, but also the appropriate attitudes and work ethic of a productive and useful member of the society. So again, take note of the word useful member of the society. So this TVET prepares individual to become useful member of the society. So that is why, although like what I've said, although the focus is on the skills, but the knowledge, values, and attitudes will never be ignored. Okay? Still, these are important aspects. Important aspects of TVET. Okay, so skills is useless. You will not become a useful member of the society if you only have the skills. So, like what I've said, even though the focus is on the skills, but knowledge, values, and attitude will never be ignored, because what's the sense of having if you are fully skilled if you do not have enough knowledge, especially if you do not have the right attitude, then it's useless. Okay, so let's have first the classical philosophies. So let's have first the idealism. Okay, let's have first the idealism. Okay, so what do we have here? Idealism, it is a philosophical approach that has its central tenet that ideas are the only true reality, the only thing worth knowing. Okay, so it is said that the only true is the only true reality are the ideas. So that's why it is called idealism, because the only they in this philosophy, the only true in the reality are the ideas. In a search for truth, beauty, and justice that is enduring and everlasting, the focus is on conscious reasoning in the mind. Plato, father of idealism. So who is the father of idealism? It is Plato. Okay. Exposed this view about 400 years BC in his famous book, The Republic. Plato believed that there are two worlds. The first is the spiritual or mental world, which is eternal, permanent, orderly, regular, and universal. There is also the world of appearance, the world experienced through sight, touch, smell, taste, and sound that is changing, imperfect, and disorderly. So we have the spiritual, according to Plato, we have the spiritual, and then we have the world of appearance. So this division is often referred to as the duality of mind and body. So reacting against what he perceived as too much of a focus on the immediacy of the physical and sensory world, like to describe a utopian society in which education to body and soul, all the beauty and perfection of which they are capable as an ideal. In his allegory of the cave, the shadows of the sensory world must be overcome with the light of reason or universal truth. To understand truth, one must overcome with the light of reason or universal truth. So one must pursue knowledge and identify with the absolute mind. Plato also believed that the soul is fully formed prior to birth and is perfect and at one with the universal being. The birth process checks this perfection. So education requires bringing latent ideas to consciousness. So according to Plato, there are two worlds. What are these two worlds that he is saying? Okay, so what are these two words? The spiritual. These are the spiritual. And then the spiritual world. The spiritual world. And then the appearance world. So this is something like, this is the mind, the body, and then the mind. So that's why with this idealism, there is really a need for education for everyone to have this light. Light means to say there we will have this shed of wisdom because there is light. Appearance is the body, the one that we can touch, the one that we see. Okay. So now, if we are going to relate this to education, so therefore education is important for everyone now to see the ultimate, to understand the ultimate truth, that one must pursue knowledge, and because through education, we will become knowledgeable and we will come to our senses and become conscious. So in idealism, the aim of education is to discover and develop each individual's abilities and full moral excellence in order to better serve the society. So if in idealism, it is said that education is very important for us to discover our abilities. And if we were able to discover our abilities, then we can share something to the society. The curricular emphasis is subject matter of mind, literature, history, philosophy, and religion. Teaching methods focus on handling ideas through lecture, discussion, and Socratic dialogue. Socratic dialogue is a method of teaching that uses questioning to help students discover and clarify knowledge. Because in idealism, again, the important here is the idea. The idea. Okay, so if one is knowledgeable, then meaning to say, he will also be aware of his potentials. And if he is aware of his potentials, then surely he can contribute something in the society. Okay, so that is why the teaching methodologies here is more of the discussion. Socratic dialogue, because Socratic dialogue is more of questioning, like introspection, intuition, insight, and full part logic are used to bring to consciousness the forms or concepts which are latent in the mind. Character is developed through initiating examples and heroes. Okay, so let's now have the realism. Okay, so what do we have now here in realism? Okay, so realism. So here in realism, realists believe that reality exists independent of the human mind. The ultimate reality is the world of physical object. So in idealism, it's more of the ideas. The only true are the ideas. Here in realism, the only true now are the physical objects. Physical objects. What you see, what you touch. The focus is on the body or objects. Truth is objective, what can be observed. Aristotle, a student of Plato who broke with his mentor's idealist philosophy, is called the father of both realism and the scientific method. So here, it's Aristotle in realism. So it's Aristotle, okay? The student of Plato. Okay, so in this metaphysical view, the aim is to understand objective reality through the diligent and unsparing scrutiny of all observable data. Aristotle believed that to understand an object its ultimate form had to be understood, which does not change. For example, a rose exists whether or not a person is aware of it. A rose can exist in the mind without being physically present because there's really a rose. But ultimately, the rose shares properties with all other roses and flowers. It's the form. Although one rose may be red and another is peach colored, Aristotle also was the first to teach logic as a formal discipline. In order to be able to reason about the physical events and aspects, the exercise of rational thought is viewed as the ultimate purpose for humankind. The realist curriculum emphasizes the subject matter of the physical world, okay, particularly science and mathematics. The teacher organizes present content systematically within a discipline, demonstrating use of criteria in making decisions. Teaching methods focus on mastery of facts and basic skills through demonstration and recitation. Students must also demonstrate the ability to think critically and scientifically using observation and experimentation. Because again, the only in realism, the only thing that exists are the physical objects. So that is why it should be observed and experienced. Curriculum should be scientifically approached, standardized, and distinct discipline-based characters developed through training in the rules of conduct. Okay, next is we have now the extensionism. So extensionism, the nature of reality at existentialism is subjective and lies within the individual. The physical world has no inherent meaning outside of human existence. Individual choice and individual standards, rather than external standards, are central. Existence comes before any definition of what we are. We define ourselves in relationship to that existence by the choices we make. We should not accept anyone else's predetermined philosophical system. Rather, we must take responsibility for deciding who we are. So the focus is on freedom. Okay, so in existentialism, the focus is on freedom, letting everyone to decide on their own, Okay. So again, we should not accept anyone else's predetermined philosophical system. Rather, we must take responsibility for deciding who we are. So the development of authentic individuals as we make meaning of our lives. So existentialism. The question here is, why do we exist? Why do we exist? Because we have our own capabilities, abilities, and purpose. So that's why it is not necessary to keep on thinking what others will think of us. The important is we should decide on our own based on who we are. There are seven, although there are times that we really need to, most of the time, most of us usually ask for advice, but at the end of the day, it will be the end of the day, you will be the only one to decide on your own because you will be the one to choose what is best, what is not, because you are the one, um, you are the only one who have the capability to decide what's best for you. So again, even if you keep on asking the opinion of others, but still at the end of the day, you will be the one to decide for yourself because that is your life. That is existentialism. There are several different orientations within the existentialist philosophy. Soren Kierkegaard, a Danish minister and philosopher, considered to be the founder of existentialism. He was a Christian orientation. Another group of existentialists, largely European, believe that we must recognize the finiteness of our lives in this small and fragile planet rather than believing in salvation through God. Our existence is not guaranteed in an afterlife. So there is a tension about life and the certainty of death, of hope or despair. So as much as possible in extensionism, if you are still living, do the things that makes you happy. Do not depend on others' opinion because we are not sure of what will happen after our death. Because existentialism is the only thing that is true is the physical world. Okay, so related to education, the subject matter of extensionist classroom should be a matter of personal choice. Okay, the one that I keep on telling a while ago. Teachers view the individual as an entity within the social context in which the learner must confront others' views to clarify his or her own. So character development emphasizes individual responsibility for decisions. Real answers come from within the individual, not from outside the authority. Examining life through authentic thinking involves students in genuine learning experiences. Existentialists are opposed to thinking about students as objects to be measured, tracked, or standardized. Such educators want the educational experience to focus on creating opportunities for self-direction and self-actualization. They start with the student rather than on the curriculum content. Okay, so that is existentialism. What is important here in existentialism is for everyone to have freedom to decide on their own because that is their life. Okay, so you know who you are, so there is no need to, although you need to consider the opinion of others, but still at the end of the day, you will be the one to decide on your own. All right, so let's have this pragmatism. So for pragmatism, it's based on change, process, and relativity. It conceived of knowledge as a process in which reality is constantly changing. So here it put emphasis that there is no permanent in this world except changes. So that is pragmatism. It assumes that learning will happen when the person will engage to problem solving. It also claims that both the learners and environment are constantly changing. So for pragmatists, only those things that are experienced or observed are real. It rejects the idea of unchanging universal truths. Teaching must focus on critical thinking because knowledge is the result of testing and verification. Teaching is exploratory rather than explanatory. So, meaning to say, if teaching is exploratory, students need to explore, to experience different things for them to be able to learn and for them to become a knowledgeable person. They need to experience things, they need to observe things for them to see what is really real. Okay, so it rejects the idea that that the universe that the truth doesn't change. So as time goes by, there will always be changes. Even the ideas will change. Okay, so here it focuses more on critical thinking. So learning will just only happen if they will be engaged to problem solving. So here, John Dewey applied pragmatist philosophy in his progressive approaches. He believed that learners must adapt to each other and to their environment. So schools should emphasize the subject matter of social experience. So all learning is dependent on the context of place, time, and circumstance. Why? So that the learners can relate to what is really true, to what is really happening. Different cultural and ethnic groups learn to work cooperatively and contribute to a democratic society. The ultimate purpose is the creation of a new social order. So in pragmatist, since what is being put emphasis here are the changes. So that is why the ultimate purpose is the creation of a new social order so that there will be improvement. So character development is based on making group decision in light of consequences. For pragmatists, teaching methods focus on hands-on problem solving, experimenting in projects, often having students work in groups. Curriculum should bring the disciplines together to focus on solving problems in an interdisciplinary way rather than passing down organized bodies of knowledge to new learners. Pragmatists believe that learners should apply their knowledge to real situations. Through experimental inquiry, this prepares students for citizenship, daily living, and future careers. Now again, take note that according to John Dewey, learners must adapt to each other and to their environment. So meaning to say, adjustment should be done with regards to their colleagues and with the environment. Okay, so schools should emphasize the subject matter of social experience because also through social experience, learners will learn something because they can experience it, and through experiencing something, it is the knowledge to be learned. It's just easy to acquire because they were able to experience it, to observe it, Okay. So let's now have the modern philosophies. So we have here under modern philosophies, we have the perennialism. So for perennialists, the aim of education to ensure that students acquire understanding about the great ideas of Western civilization. These ideas have the potential for solving problems in any era. The focus is to teach ideas that are everlasting, to seek enduring truths which are constant, not changing, as the natural and human worlds at their most essential level do not change. Teaching these unchanging principles is critical. Humans are rational beings and their minds need to be developed. Thus, cultivation of the intellect is the highest priority in a worthwhile education. The demanding curriculum focuses on attaining cultural literacy, stressing students' growth in enduring disciplines. The accomplishments of humankind are emphasized, the great works of literature and art, the laws or principles of science. Advocates of this educational philosophy are Robert Maynard Hutchins, who developed a great books program in 1963, and Mortimer Adler, who further developed this curriculum based on 100 great books of Western civilization. Okay, so the main aim for the perennialist, is to acquire understanding about the great ideas, of the Western civilization. So if we are going to Western civilization, we are going to look at this. This is more of, maybe we can say that perennialism is more of being bookish. Okay, so believing with the great ideas from the Western civilization. So we have here, the next is we have the progressivism. We have here the progressivism. So progressivism is an educational philosophy whose main philosophical base is found in pragmatism. It believes that knowledge must lead to growth and development. Its aim is to promote democratic social living. It is a living learning process focusing on the relevant themes. The role of teacher is guide for problem solving and inquiry. Its curriculum is based on students' interests. So there is this progressivism. Progressivism is something related to one of the classical philosophy, which is the pragmatism. Okay. This educational philosophy stresses that students should test ideas by active experimentation. So learning is rooted in the questions of learners that arise through experiencing the world. It is active, not passive. The learner is a problem solver and thinker who makes meaning through his or her individual experience in the physical and cultural context. Effective teachers provide experiences so that students can learn by doing. So curriculum content is derived from students' interest and questions. The scientific method is used by progressivist educators so that students can study matter and events systematically and firsthand. The emphasis is on process, how one comes to know. The progressive education philosophy was established in America from the mid-1920s to mid-1950s. It is also John Dewey who introduced progressivism. One of his tenets was the school should improve the way of life of our citizens through experiencing freedom and democracy in schools, shared decision-making, planning of teachers with students, student-selected topics are all aspects. Books are tools rather than authority. So, unlike the perennialism, like what I've said a while ago, it's more of bookish. Here in progressivism, books are just tools. Okay? So books are just guide for the learners to learn on something. But what is the most important in progressivism is students will not only learn from the books, but also through experiencing on something because it's first hand. Okay, the next is humanism. Okay, humanism. For humanism, the roots of humanism are found in the thinking of Erasmus. So this is from Erasmus, who attacked the religious teaching and thought prevalent in his time to focus on the free inquiry and rediscover the classical roots from Greece and Rome. Erasmus believed in the essential goodness of children, that humans have free will, moral conscience, the ability to reason, aesthetic sensitivity, and religious instinct. He advocated that the young should be treated kindly and that learning should not be forced or rushed as it proceeds in stages. So here comes now, when we speak of humanism, what is being considered now here are the students. So this is like more of being student-centered now. Being student-centered, students are not forced to learn, because if they will just be forced, then it is believed that they will never learn if they will just be forced. So the teacher need now to wait for the readiness of the children. So again, Erasmus believed in the essential goodness of children, that humans have free will. So that's why we have, like for example, the modular approach. In modular approach is more of self-pacing, waiting for the readiness of the children. They're not forced to right away learn on something, because if the teacher will do that, then nothing will be learned. So it should come first. The interest should come first to the students. Although the teacher is there, the teacher should just encourage the learner to learn. Humanism was developed as an educational philosophy by Rousseau and Pestalozzi, who emphasized nature and the basic goodness of humans' understanding through the senses, and education as a gradual and inherent process in which the development of human character followed the unfolding of nature. Humanists believed the learner should be in control of his or her own destiny, since the learner should become a fully autonomous person. Personal freedom, choice, and responsibility are the focus. The learner is self-motivated to achieve towards the highest level possible. Motivation to learn is intrinsic to humanism. So recent application of humanist philosophy focusing on the social and emotional well-being of the child, as well as the cognitive development of a healthy self-concept, awareness of the psychological needs, helping students to strive to be all that they can are important concepts posed in theories of Abraham Maslow, Carl Rogers, and Alfred Adler that are found in classroom today. Teachers emphasize freedom from the threat, emotional well-being, learning processes, and self-fulfillment. Okay, so that is the humanism.